We wanted to talk about new Notre Dame commitment, Ryan Barnes, a defensive back, 6'2", 180 from just outside Washington, D.C., in Gaithersburg, Maryland, Quince Orchard High School. He picked Notre Dame over Clemson, Florida, Florida State, Georgia, LSU, Michigan, Oklahoma, Oregon, Tennessee. The Vols were actually, Mike, this is crazy. This kid's got 30 offers, right? Just committed to Notre Dame. Last November, when he's playing his high school state semifinal game, they won. He had a great game. 2 days later, he lands his first offer from Tennessee. 7 months later now, here he is, Notre Dame commit, over 30 offers. So he went from 0 to 100, as the kids say, with his recruiting process. So I sent you his tape. What'd you think? What were kind of your impressions of seeing his film?
Yeah. He's what we briefly spoke of earlier. He's what folks are looking for. Again, that prototypical, the length. You read about the commitment and some of the commentary that's come out since. He's long. If you had a crystal ball, again, that Miss Cleo crystal ball, I'd probably project him as a safety. He seems to have that real similar body type to that Kyle Hamilton. Cover a lot of ground. What's interesting, it almost seems like, Mike, his star rating, if he's kind of parked at a 3-star, really hasn't caught up with his recruitment, because he's got everybody under the sun has offered the kid. So the 3 stars aren't indicative, and it might not boost Notre Dame's recruiting rankings on a national scale, but he's a player. He can run and he's long. Again, you can never have enough of those body types on the back end of your defense. The other thing that I really liked about him, and I'll beat this drum over and over again, the way the kid plays the game, he's definitely got a little bit of fire in his belly. He's having fun out there, seems to love the game of football, loves to compete, which me, again, as an ex-player on the defensive side of the ball, that really gets me excited. So if you team him up with like a Nick McLeod, who's very boisterous on the field, it could be a lot of fun to kind of see some of that interaction on the back end.
So, Mike, when we did our podcast, our recruiting show, we brought on Preston Jackson, former, of course, one of your teammates, former defensive backs, now in the Tampa Bay area. We talked about Philip Riley, who you guys both raved about for a while. He's also, Barnes, we talk about free safety. I could certainly see him as a free safety, but he's coming in at, let's just say, at corner. So you look at Barnes and Riley. In that 2020 recruiting class, Notre Dame, it was a little bit shaky in the secondary recruiting. How fired up are you about these two guys for Notre Dame?
Yeah, load them up. A little bit, they're both really, really good sized corners, especially for that high school level. But if Barnes is listed at 6'2" and he looks it on the field, probably not as clean as far as the technique is concerned, footwork, hands, eyes, all those things that we're raving about with Riley, where Riley's really dialed in and really well coached, but doesn't have, again, quite the length of a Barnes. But yeah, load up the backfield. What's also interesting, we touched on this last week, in terms of like the level of competition, that ball that he's playing in Maryland, that Maryland area, that looks like really good ball.
It is.
Guys are flying around. So that would lend itself to, lend you to believe that he's going to come in. And I've said it before, tailback and corner is generically speaking, the two easiest positions for a young kid to come in and contribute right away. So if he's playing at a high level of football now, he's got a little bit of charisma, a little bit of shit to him. I'm excited. Let's go get more.
Now, Lou.
It's especially imperative, though, what you said, Mike, about him maybe projecting as a safety, because I'm looking at that 2021 roster, and conceivably, right now Notre Dame has 5 scholarship players on safety. 3 of them could be gone after that 2021 campaign. Houston Griffith would be in his senior season. Isaiah Pryor, who has 2 years left as a graduate transfer, if he doesn't leave after 2020, certainly would after 2021. And it's certainly not inconceivable that Kyle Hamilton, as a junior, could be on the NFL radar also in 2021. So basically what you have left is DJ Brown, who also, I believe, would be entering his final season of eligibility in 2021, and then Litchfield Ajavon. That's been an area, because they've moved a few, like Paul Moala, they've moved to the rover position. Derek Allen transferred to Georgia Tech. That's a position that's a little bit short on bodies. So what you mentioned about him, maybe long-term projection as a safety, I think that's going to be essential, because right now you do at least have 6 guys in the Notre Dame cornerback room with 4 years of eligibility.
Sure. Yeah. Yeah. And we talked about, again, some of those folks, some of the different kids, again, maybe listed as a safety, but I think we talked about this once before. It wouldn't shock me, at least maybe situationally, Lou, where a Pryor can slip down in a 3rd and long position and maybe move to rover. And I mean, again, you've all got these moving pieces. Maybe you take your typical rover and move him inside on a 3rd and long, and then you could maybe work in a younger kid like a Barnes at safety if Pryor comes down and is playing depending on the personnel you're facing. So a lot of moving parts, a lot of athletes, a lot of interchangeable positions there. Again, it's all good as far as I'm concerned. Get athletes, get long athletes, get kids that love football. Let's roll it out and play. So, yeah, it's exciting.
Do you envision him starting out at corner, Barnes?
To answer that question, Lou, the biggest question mark that I would have to answer your question, but I would need an answer to this is, how fast is he? I don't know how fast he is. Like, I just don't know what his top end speed looks like. I just don't. So that in terms of matching up one-on-one, that makes me a little bit nervous.
Well, usually with longer players too, and he's listed at 6'2", and who knows? I mean, Ramon Henderson was listed at 6'3", and now he's listed at 6'1" since coming in.
Shrunk pretty quick.
So I'm always leery, a little bit skeptical of the weights or times or heights that are given to you. The high school recruitment. So I think that is a good way to look at it, is let's see just how fast he is. But if he is 6'2", I mean, most people love that length at the corner position, but the ability to turn, flip hips.
The start and stop, Lou, is kind of, and again, it's just two different worlds, but that start and stop as a corner, the suddenness, coaches used to call it, that suddenness, versus you've got more time to build up speed coming down from a safety. So it's just a little bit different. So that'll be interesting to see, is how well he can match up one-on-one, specifically that start and stop kind of short area quickness versus playing safety. So the coaches will figure that out. But again, you have the luxury of some flexibility there with him.
Yeah, you got Riley, you got Barnes, and we haven't even talked about Justin Walters, another defensive back commit for Notre Dame. He was the first DB pledged for the Irish in this 2021 class. Hard-hitting player from the Chicago area. Good stuff on Ryan Barnes.